Barnsley visit Wycombe this Saturday. I asked Michael Duff what he was expecting from the trip to Adams Park. On Wycombe, obviously they're known, rightly or wrongly, as a very direct team, physical, big, good at set pieces. I mean, is that what you're preparing for, and is it slightly different preparation to other teams such as Plymouth, for example?
Well, every team's got its own strengths and weaknesses. I went to watch them at Bristol. It was a good game, actually, a good open game. Scored a couple of good goals. Wycombe, Bristol could have scored a couple of goals as well. So it was an end-to-end, toe-to-toe game. And I'm not one for pigeonholing people. It's, you know, I was successful at Burnley playing 4-4-2, and sometimes people try and do you down. And I'd imagine that's happened a lot with Wycombe because they were a smaller team in this league. And people's egos kick in, so they'll have won a lot of games in the last few years where they'll have beaten bigger teams. So the easy thing to say, oh, they beat us up and they played long ball. When you actually go with the devil in the details, they were better than you. So I'm not one for they do this or they do that. They play to your strengths. If their strengths are that, and they, you know, Vokesy, I played with Vokesy, you won't get anyone better in the air than Vokesy. Hanlon started on Tuesday night, scored a good goal, ran the channels hard, but yeah, I think it's too easy just to go, we'll prepare for their strengths and try and expose their weaknesses as we do with every other team. But yeah, I think it's too easy, I think it's lazy just to go, well, they just boot it, they just beat you up. I think there's a bit more to it.
Doug, so if last weekend was about cutting the gap between Barnsley and Plymouth, is this weekend about perhaps putting a gap between themselves and the chasing pack?
Yeah, I think so. They would probably say, you know, every week's just about 3 points, so it doesn't really matter who they're playing against. But of course, we're in this run of games against teams that join them in the top 6 or 7. So yeah, I mean, they're a few points clear of Wycombe at the moment, who have played a game more. I think 3 points clear, or 6 points actually. And they, you know, obviously if they win, it will go up to 9, and they're in a really, really strong position to get in the top 6. It looks like they're, you know, heading that way anyway, but obviously get a good result on Saturday will keep them there, and then keep eyes fixed on the top 2 as well, which I think is where fans and probably people at Oakwell as well are starting to get excited about Barnsley potentially finishing this season.
Yeah, there's real momentum building in. That was only increased by the incredible Plymouth result. Yeah,
definitely. 10 unbeaten with 8 wins, and just the manner of the victories as well. Like you said, 3-0 against Plymouth. I thought they played really well again. Beat Portsmouth comfortably, beat Derby comfortably as well before that. So I mean, they're really turning over some very good sides in this division and looking extremely comfortable.
I think under Gareth Ainsworth, everyone knew what to expect, and it was a much maligned style, whatever you want to say about it. But I mean, things changed a little bit under the new manager.
I don't think too much. Michael Duff was talking about it today, and obviously Matt Bloomfield is a sort of disciple of Gareth Ainsworth. He played hundreds of games under him, so I think for now at least, obviously when you come in, the team's doing well in a certain style, you probably won't change it too much. It sounds like it's pretty similar, so I think Barnsley can expect a very physical test against direct opponents, but they've got good footballers in there as well. Players like Gareth McCleary is a good player, and a couple of young sort of fast forwards as well. So it's not just going to be sort of, you know, big long balls and headers and free kicks and corners and stuff, but that's obviously a big part of their game too.
It's a tough run, isn't it, Barnsley have been on? I mean, to pick up wins from all these games seems beyond their wildest dreams, but it's what they've done so far.
Yeah, definitely. They've had a great start to the month. Obviously, drew at Bristol Rovers, which is probably the one that maybe some people might have expected them to win more than the others, but I guess that just shows how unpredictable it is. But yeah, they've had those 3 big home wins. Hopefully they can translate it into a big, important away win now as well.
Is the only issue this weekend who's going to play in goal? Because obviously Brad Collins comes back into the thinking. It's a head scratcher for Duff.
Yeah, it is. I think that is the only selection issue. Robbie Cundy is getting closer, and I think he could play if needed, but the back 3 is obviously doing well, and they're all fit as far as we know, so I think he'll probably wait another week or so. Yeah, the goalkeeper situation is the big one. Obviously it's Harry Isted's shirt to lose, so to speak, and he's been doing really well, and there's the old adage of you don't change a winning team, so we'll see what Michael Duff does. But it is a strange one, because Brad Collins has been such a good goalkeeper for a number of years for Barnsley that it would be weird for him to be the number 2, but it's happened before, and it might happen again if they keep going with Isted and he keeps playing like he is. So yeah, like you say, good problem to have, 2 very good goalkeepers, and there's just strength in depth all through Barnsley's squad now. You look at the bench on Saturday, it will probably be really strong, and lots of options to come on or replace people if they get injured.
And as you've reported this week, Doug, the 2 goalkeepers have got a long history together, which is unusual.
Yeah, I spoke to Harry Isted during the week. I think they signed for Portsmouth when they were 8 years old or 9 years old at the same time, and played there brief. I don't think it was for too long. They went off to other clubs, but yeah, so they've known each other for that'll be like 15, 17 years now. So yeah, strange that they signed for Portsmouth when they were that young, and now they're competing for the number 1 spot at Barnsley.
Also, you've reported this week some encouraging news perhaps on the future of Bobby Thomas.
Yeah, so Michael Duff revealed in the press conference that they've got an option to buy if they go up, if Barnsley go up, which will obviously be positive for Barnsley fans. He's been excellent on the right of the back 3, really good on loan, especially I thought on Saturday against Plymouth, probably his best performance so far. All these been pretty good all the way through. So yeah, if they sort of another bonus to getting promoted if they manage to sign him.
Some more news over this week: the Ipswich game having to be postponed and put back due to international call-ups. What's the mood about that decision?
I think Duff was very just like it is what it is. We'll just deal with it kind of thing. Obviously, it changes the schedule a bit. My personal thoughts are, you can take it both ways, aren't you? I kind of think, they're on such good form, and they just want to play and play and play. I think, and Ipswich will probably be feeling the same. So. The positive side of it is that it calms down a really brutal run of games. They've obviously got Sheffield Wednesday on Tuesday, then they would have had Ipswich, and then they would have gone to Exeter. So it just takes a little bit of the pressure and the sort of tiring, daunting aspect out of that week, and makes it a little bit more manageable. But then obviously it gets punted to probably the 25th of April, maybe the 2nd of May, right at the end of the season. And if they carry on as they are, it's going to be an absolutely huge game, one of the biggest at Oakwell for a long time, if they're both in contention for the top 2 at that point.
Yeah. Okay. And don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and share it amongst your friends.